We to and froed a whole bunch because he was American and is American. And look, I don't even know why PayPal did not dawn as the best option, but we were literally scratching our heads as to how to get this money to me. And kisa understand there with all these applications all over the show that claim to enable transfer of funds from international markets. We went through them a whole bunch, but I was not even all that feverish about finishing this off because and I was like, if this donation gets to me, it gets to me. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like proper. This guy also like a dog. Get hearts were out of his way. Like the initial bank that we used was, what is that one LA yellow man that you find Kwako 4 ways? There was some I forgot. Some bank or some intermediary, you understand, that basically Western Union. Yeah, initially we used Western Union, and Western Union a proper PayPal is better, Wise is better. There are so many other options, but we were both novices at this thing. So dragging my feet. Lona was the one waiting. I cannot go in I go the banking of America. It's a transfer that did not reflect for a couple of days, and he asked me, he's the one on put it saying, so is it reflected? I was like, oh, I didn't realize you transferred. I thought no, there's nothing. Who's saying first thing, I go banking. Why isn't it reflecting? Why isn't she getting what she needs? Like this, like I need to get this money to her. Yazi, the effort that this guy put in to send me money, I was like, yo. Oh, as we're busy chatting iteratively, like it was what do you call this thing? The conversations were, because of his time zone, like I'm probably falling asleep now because like okay, the time zone, like he was there in America, I'm here, so I would respond after hours and whatnot, type establishment thing. Because letting in exam feely and whatnot, mara effort I can say to make sure that get said, somewhere along the way I got like, I started looking forward to his texts. I started developing a crush on him. I got a crush on a guy that I can watch about Facebook. I'm like, wow, bora, I cannot have a limotako. I was like, one bora ankazi, wa Kenya, but then he invested in so much provision where I was concerned. Wangi Tokomela, when nobody else was out there looking at me even with a squint eye. And I got a crush on him. I developed a crush, an initial crush. And I was like, hey, but nobody's ever taken care of me. Like, in all of these years of my sorrow, that has, even though Kemofa attitude, I pass him shade, I'm dragging my feet like I'm short. And he is nonetheless running up and down like Katweni. Spending money with petrol to make sure I'm the one here that needs the money. And yet this dude is the one that's running around like a headless chicken in America. And I got a crush on him just based on that. Just based on Indabehuti, he put in the effort. Long story short, he loved me first. And so I got a crush on him. And initially, mind you, I told him, what did I say? I said, understand that if you give me money, don't think that this is anything. I get I'm a beautiful woman. We get a proper beautiful. And men are to be trying to exploit me, so don't think you're gonna get anything from me. He was like, look, I'm just out here trying to help you along because the Lord moved in me. He was trying to get, I told you, men, at the end of the day, it's about sex, okay? He's trying to have sex. It's just a matter of within which context is he trying to hit that. Like, is he willing to wait until marriage, or your virtue? This guy claimed to be Christian, only willing to wait for me until marriage. That was his intention from the get-go. It's such that don't expect to get anything in return. There's nothing in it for you, boy. He was like, look, I'm just helping you along because God led me. I was like, sharp, fine, do you, whatever. Because of all of the effort to get stuff to me, I was like, sure, to a point where eventually I started to accommodate conversations about what's going on, type setup thing, like where's Hlongwane. And then he was long story short on some, if you're prepared that I should pursue you, I'm willing. And then one pesua. We ended up engaged. I ended up crazy, literally in love with him. But you know what? over and above it. Like he just slapped me on top of my initial feelings, so I can't tell you what there was organic, but one thing I can tell you is that I got a crush on him because he loved me first, and then we would have gotten married. Sense, that's the thing. He didn't make sense. He was satanic, he was diabolical, he was into voodoo, he had been married twice before, he was a divorcee, he had kids, he wasn't taking care of them, and it later came to my understanding as well, HIV, and that HIV he didn't even know he had it at the time of us talking, because one night stand, so he was fornicating, so he was a false convert, he wasn't really truly serious about Jesus, and that's why he could just keep on having sex all over the show, and one woman gave it to him, and because of our relationship, and then so dololo, and ever since then he's been all up in my grill trying to choke me like a manzi in the chest of a drowning patient in the hospital. Or he's all up in my grill. He tested positive. I was going to marry a guy that's been married twice before. Long story short, there is a bullseye, there is a success on the part of amadoda that don't have an exploitative mindset pertaining women, who go out on a limb and take the risk of investing in umfazi that may say no to them. It is a worthy bet. It is a worthwhile gamble for them to enter into it, because if at all you haven't learned this lesson as amadoda, it works to cater to the needs of a woman who is in severe want, even if initially agazingeni ndaba zakho buy iskele o batla lo kenya chelete ko accounting yaka e-wallet, whatever do you, I'm not going on a date with you. This woman will say that initially, but just by mere virtue of a man walking in his God-ordained provision, protection, shielding, all that jazz, a woman will end up falling in love, because that's how God made it. Men are a proverbial Christ. Women are the body of Christ proverbially. We are initially rebellious to the pursuit of men, but we ultimately capitulate if they love us, just in the same way that we are initially rebellious to the pursuit of Jesus, but after some years of him lovingly pursuing and catering to our needs, in spite of it there being nothing in it for him in return, we give our lives to him. If the Lord can typologically compare the relationship between men and women to that of himself and the church, it says that the success of Jesus Christ to gather for himself a people, the success of Jesus Christ to gather for himself a people for his own possession, is therefore the success of a man that pursues a woman that wants nothing to do with him and gets her because he loved her first. We are born dead in trespasses and sins, and in sins did our parents conceive us. We are born slaves to sin. None of us can choose God, no, not one. The Lord must draw us, the Father must draw us to the Son through the Holy Spirit, convicting us of sin. Otherwise, we will not turn to God. Essentially, we are born hating him. We can't stand the Lord, and yet somewhere along the way he prospers to sprinkle clean water on us that we might be clean. He prospers to take out the heart of stone out of us and make it a heart of flesh. He divorces us from fornications and blasphemies and makes us pure, even though we adored our filth at some point. He succeeds to make you a doting bride when you hated him at some point. Therefore, if the Lord compares himself to you as men in how it is that you ought to be towards women to win them over, he is saying, me, I know how to love a person that wants nothing to do with me until she wants everything that I am, and says of himself or herself, in you I live, in you I move, and in you I have my being. If men, you can teach yourselves how to love abafazi and abandon this exploitative, transactional, crazy world that will have nothing to do with catering to the needs of people that have nothing at all, you will win unreachable women for yourselves. It is literally your game that you are abandoning because you have allowed the world to philosophize how in the world you ought to be. When you like a woman and she is way out of your league, you would imagine, you would far conquer every last Tom, Dick, and Harrison on the planet in the periphery of her. You will far more readily conquer every last potential sweeter for this woman that you imagine is likely best for her, or better, or that she will listen to him more. You will likely conquer them fast and furious if you cater to the basic needs of females on the earth of this woman: protection, provision, shielding, love, especially without expecting anything in return. If you can cater to protection, making a woman feel like I am incubated, I'm shielded, alright, ain't no random dude or spa gonna tell me that I can't drive causing me to manifest road rage. That would never happen if I had a man that was there to protect me. A woman can fall in love because like proper damsel in distress chivalry was reignited. Protection, provision, make sure ngina something, shielding. The whole world thinks you ain't jack. I'ma make them know that that ain't true. Loving her the way that Christ loved the church. Love. Essentially, reverse psychology ngena eya bana ba batho ba bantsho ke nonsense ke rubbish. You are part of the mafia. You want women to love you and grovel for scraps of affection by acting like you don't care. Not personally, and I would imagine every other woman agrees. More than reverse psychology, a guy pretending he don't care when he cares. I have been picking bones with reverse psychology since before I came to Christ. And guys, I don't know how many times I've said that before. That never ever made it clear that he wants me. I guess being with a guy that stood 10 kilometers away and lured me in with mind games. Game like psychological magic, like what do you call it, gaslighting. A person that acted narcissistically is expecting me to put myself on his threshing floor, like to make him see the woman got a hint and a woof, an idea from him that he is interested, because after all you keep on staring. The guy it's to a point of 180 degree and looking at me like he's an owl. When I was sitting making it stark and clear that he's a bit of a creep, he acted like a peeping Tom. The way he was always staring at me. Yeah, at some point it became clear that I had a crush on him, and precisely because it became clear, he be acting a fool, he took his merry time and then deregistered from the university for 1 year because he was too busy kumsebeting. I came to learn he was an entrepreneur, and he disappeared without letting me know that he is no longer going to be finishing the school year. He might come back next year, but for now he's too busy. So any guy, so you enjoy in Jeffelas splatting bugs that I'm screaming and jumping up and down on the spot, deleting, to make me feel protected. And I mean, that's something that actually happened. There was this one little insect that I saw one time when we all were doing a project, him, I, and a whole bunch of other people in the team. And I was like, woo, 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 woo. I screamed because there was a bug. Why am I to go and kill it? And I was like, how you want me killing bugs to evidence that you're there for my protection? One time. Yo, this phone is overheating. Why is that even a thing? Okay, the sooner I can finish this video, the better, because my phone is overheating because the sun is already out and it's quite warm in here, so I really have only got a small window of time. Mara, I'm about to seal the message anyway. Yeah, this culture of exploitation. For men are essentially abandoning their position, their plot, their mission in these streets. Yeah. They're abandoning it by lacking chivalry. They have dropped the ball, they have fallen far from grace. This dude from the US was exploitative. He was ultimately gunning for no other thing but to ultimately devour me. He appeared to be content with it happening after marriage. He wasn't, however, godly. He fetishized the prospect of Christianity. After asenze manyalo a hae too. And now he wanted a truly genuinely godly woman, and he went about it via voodoo and all that jazz. One thing, however, that he got right was the fact that pursue a woman and you will get what you want from her eventually. He basically went out on a limb. He took a risk that I would want nothing to do with him, because I said in the beginning that he was like, look, Mina, I'm just trying to cater to your needs because Ujeso sent me. He went and used the name of the Lord in vain. Mara, one thing he did get right, because he prospered to spark feelings in me, was tabayao. The Lord caters to our needs. The Lord knows our filth and our sin, and we end up loving him freely and willingly. So if at all men are called to God, they will freely and willingly and happily love women the way that Jesus Christ loved the church. They will do that. Amadota, do you understand? Without expecting anything in return, they will understand their civic duty to these women. And even if they've got a mission, which Christ always has at the top of his mind, when he is loving you throughout your life before you give your life to him to ultimately get you, don't be offended and insulted that this guy wants to get in your pantyhose. It's what men want to do the moment they see you standing in front of them. They say, this at last is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Him wanting to get into your skirt. It's just what men want to do. It's what they will always do, be they saved or not. The saved ones, however, understand the context and where it is within which they can get the skirt. So, when you are godly, when you give your life to Christ as a woman, the ideal and most perfect thing you can do for yourself is wait and don't ever settle or compromise for a worldly man, because all men inherently want the same thing from women, but only one type of men, one category of men have enough honor, integrity, dignity, and respect to get it in an environment where a woman will feel loved. Only one type of man is not going to expect you to break your vows with God to be with him. Only one kind of man is not going to leave you out on the limb because there's potentially nothing in it for you in the end. Only one kind of man, a godly man, will understand that his resources are not his but God's to steward. And so therefore, even though the Lord has given him wealth, it is not his to do with it what he wants, but God's to steward on the earth through the vessel that is this guy. And so therefore, if this man has got a worldly mindset, what am I gonna do with her? I have all this, I guess, wealth, but herein lies the deal. She's not mine. She's not mine. What am I gonna do with this circumstance, this ecosystem? A man of that nature, frankly, you have dodged a bullet. Good riddance. He was going to afflict your virtue. He was going to make out of you a spent woman, albeit haven't been chaste and celibate and waiting on God for a husband. If you don't patiently wait on the Lord for a husband, kuzofika indoda that is very typically a man. I will spend on you, I will provide and I will protect. Mara, there's gotta be something in it for me. Women are perpetually falling in love all over the show because men are buying them homes. Indoda that can buy 4 women homes is going to subjugate you to the tyranny of Isitem, because they will all love him because he took them out of the slums of Deep Sloot. If you want a faithful man, you will wait on the Lord for a dude that is not going to look at you like Odom for rejecting his offer to take you out from poverty. Because given that he did not lovingly pursue you by trying to make you jealous with what he's doing for other women on the left and on the right, it evidences that natlo go cheatela a go tlisetse gonorrhea le HIV le clap o natlo go kwa ka taba ya hore ke go tlhokometse mos ke go reketse ntlo. Just take your antibiotics and ARVs. That's what's coming at you. My ex-boyfriend, guess who ending up picking me up? First of all, 2 police officers stopped some white dudes bus stop and waited with me until my transportation came through. Because they kept on, they were like, hey Batung, what are you doing here stuck on the side of the road? This is a dangerous area, blah blah blah. Until so basically men did that which men do. First of all, I was stuck on the side of the road hazarding. I was evidently a woman, like you can see a woman's car from a mile away. These cops stop, they knock on my window and they're like, woman, whoa, what are you doing? This area is crazy, it's dangerous. And I'm like, I'm stuck on petrol, blah blah. Is there anybody coming through? Yeah, I'm waiting for someone. And they were like, hi, okay, so 2 men helped me wait. 2 Maburu police officers. So they waited for me, and then I waited for the man that my boyfriend reluctantly called to come to my rescue. He got his boy out of his house, where he stayed. Wafika ngeskupu se petrol se 5 liter. And when he got there, he just looked at me on some high Karabo. So okay, let's pour you petrol. He pours 5 liter ale into my car. I thank him. He drives at the snail pace all the way up until I get home. Drop her off at Jarata ya Koheso, go gating to make sure again, and then goes home. He stayed in this hood. Looking visibly like and I came to learn years down the line that friend of my ex's sabotaged our relationship because he had a crush on me. So first and foremost, you're making me go and rescue a girlfriend that me I'm busy looking at, like, why didn't I meet you first because you're in my hood? I then have to go and rescue her and act like a big man, a bigger guy than that, pretending like I'm not crushing on your girl. To someone study a damsel in distress that I have a crush on, that I basically I'm trying to exercise self-control concerning because of you. And then when I get there, she out here be handshaking me, thanking me, and in spite of my severe irritation, I gotta drive like a snail in my car while she's behind me, and then be like sharp hazard, and then call you while you then what do you call this thing, reimburse me 100 rand for enabling Imediako. He looked visibly irritated, and I didn't even know what to do. All I could say was thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But if you imagine that umngani wakho is going to be look, yazi amadoda yo hunale passive aggression against women that they feel you're not mine most wise ones and like a whole latte most takileng teng ko sporto. Why tshwantse ke go late go msebetsing mo koloing ya hao is takileng? Why tshwantse there is no chivalry, and they have no idea la madoda that don't cater to the needs of women because there's nothing in it for them with all their passive aggression, that ungatshontsha umfazi from underneath a guy just by simply being there for her in a very typically male sense, in a way that this other guy is dropping the ball. Love a woman and you will steal her from Satan. Jesus loves us and he steals us from Satan. He literally snatches us from the hand of the devil. He snatches us from the flames of hell by loving us so much that we ditch a most beloved Satan that has sutured us to this world and all of its ideologies, its pleasures, its hedonism, its atheism and its agnosticism, its blasphemy. We are swimming in gladness, in worldliness before we come to God. No conviction of sin out here, enjoying the fill of our earth, our full fill of the earth, until God literally shapas satanegastena and wins us over for sobriety. He snatches us even from the flames of hell. So if God successfully does that, Jesus, and he typologically compares himself to you or you to him, and says that if you are like me, you will prosper in your marriage, you will get umfazi that would not even look at you twice just because you loved her first. Guys, what is with the folly of acting like Satan, hoping to win the affection of a woman? Satan is the one to be stolen from. Not the other way around, because all medis start belonging to the devil. All medis start out Satan's. In other words, every last one of us as Earth's citizens start out belonging to the devil. We have a father who is the devil. So the few of us that get taken over by God, that are on the path of life, like Mudimo o shapile satanegastena, he moved Satan out of the way and took us. The enemy comes at us like a flood, but God raises a standard. That's what the word of God has to say. So madoda ndini mina angnandaba nani ngoba you don't ndaba for my God, you don't care for Jesus, and me, my Lord, waited for me to love him. Angatile sebaka akuna ashapile satanegastena terata lefatshe. Hi bunny, a guy's not gonna work tooth and nail to win me over like that. He's not worth my time because he evidences in his laziness, in his lethargy, that he is not prepared to love me the way that Christ loved the church. He evidences in his lethargy that ufunagalulanje my goods. He is a pilfering like thief. He is a pillaging gangster, a mafia boss. Outswang fella takes what he wants. That's going to put me in a marriage of misery with a man that, albeit paying for everything of mine, down to ipendi, nonetheless is out here buying a villa for a mistress. He's out here buying a little Kia Picanto for his university age mistress. He out here is paying for the school fees of yet another baby mama mistress with kids belonging to another man. My husband upadala the club Hennessy bottles, mabotolo a vodka, the cover charge. Yet another mistress with her friends that is a university student that is spending my husband's money on taking her girls to expensive clubs and paying for their drinks because only put matches over and above him buying me a new house for Christmas. I'm his wife, so he will still splurge on me, but he will also buy a mistress a townhouse. And that can do all that for all those many women because he has no regard for my feelings and my emotions. A man that the Lord has set apart for a woman that has nothing at all in him, that he has seen it fit to give a great deal of wealth because he is to take care of his daughter that has had nothing for a decade, to almost a decade and then some, 13 years. A man that God is going to put in the life of his daughter that's been suffering for much too long, that the Lord awards wealth for precisely because he has got to have it to take care of a woman that lost wealth, is, albeit having wealth, not going to be a philandering buffoon, because there will be a godly polishing of all that. Possible, even though it is easier for a camel to enter the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, it is possible for God to set up his daughters with men that are going to cater to every last one of their needs, so therefore, in other words, have great wealth without them being the buffoons aho rekela di Mr. State 20 di villa ko Cape Town. Angizodlalwa mina ngama mafia boss anemali that, however, are gonna set up 20 other women with me ke le regte ke le medi ke le main chick, and I'll decide piece di ngata ngata tsa di chips mo sighting tsa di reketseng dikoloi. Mara ke bone lo bona hore ona le tšhelete e shortang e ngata fela e rekileng dikoloi tse di ngata, di Mini Cooper tse 3 le di BM tse 2 for basadi, because my man has got so much money that akubonakali noma kuvuza i-500,000 yonke yothenga imoto. Hayi we all angizochitelwa kabuhlungu kanjena guys. Mina ngimele usomandla, and my health means the world to me. My health, my body, it means the world to me. Ana monotlozang mele waka pillage lo mzimba lo owami azofaka ingculaza azongichithela mina i-AIDS or chlamydia. Hako ema na 13 years ke emetse go have sex, and then when I am out here laying with my man, my husband, beseng yo kena nyiki ngwaega ke ne ke le healthy hakana for 13 years. Wasn't a funny little odor down there, wasn't the itch go le clear hole hona le moya go breezy. Beseng ilala with my husband, and after 2 years of marriage se ke ngwaega mtana muzalwa ane syphilis because I gave birth. Ikula le nna ke sa tse tshwantse re lo tshitwa mme wa teng le lesea, because ntate wa teng could not stop sleeping with mistresses when you were heavily pregnant because he didn't find you attractive when you were pregnant, so you contracted an STD when you were pregnant, such that when you deliver umntana wakho uzalwa nge-STD. Kawe oh guys, I'm not going to be that woman. Amadoda enemali dalang basaba for good reason, but at this particular juncture angikwazi ukuba nendoda engenayo, so I'm basically waiting for muhumi mara habatshepege unless ba tlhatswa ke modimo. So ke a itse hore ha hona motho o tlotlang mo bophelong ba ka o senang tšhelete e ngata, because I've been waiting on the Lord for a husband and he impoverished me. There's no way he impoverished me without seeing it fit to give me a wealthy husband, knowing that my husband is wealthy. Nonke nina nginijongile ke le shebile nyani basopa ke ababona mamela. This here is the final prophecy of this video. Uzomandla mina ungibonisile ukuthi ngizochata very comfortably lankutwa. I'm going to marry indoda enemali, and it just makes sense because ke tlamwetsa ngmono sonang tšhelete ke sena next self. Khale ke panel beat banna. I've been for a minute out here knocking ke kokotela wood into a wall, thinking that it's my husband, my boyfriend, that I'm making a better man. Dalang jola nama scraps. That day has come and that day has gone. I asked the Lord for a man that's going to basically love me the way that Christ loved the church, but I also wanted a man that I could easily submit under. Ming sogo la back in the day to submit under boyfriends that were not strong, cause nebang bora nebali weak, never sa khone who hold their own water. So nekibla ke balwanta. There is no way that I'm actually going to be fighting for a man that is self-established, however o ratang modimo. So because of tabauri ke emetse mohumi utlwella hona le bahumi ba bangata nje fela mara ba ratang satane. Mara that's the thing about whom basatani. Men of the devil that are wealthy, thanks to making money, you lost character, just like my ex. They're getting old because Basabidi says some funny little exfoliating cream. You changed them like underwear. Do you understand? You have paid bills while more women in South Africa than corporate South Africa can pay salaries. And you have supplemented incomes of college students, university students, in ways that are very disquieting for your wives that have no clue that girls that are the age of their daughters are they're basically their competitors. Women that are now content consuming HIVs, having married men that gave it to them but that stayed with them, just have to deal in Yoguti. I'm swallowing ARVs, but tomorrow I might even be on antibiotics too, cause uzo continue lomuntu aqhethe in me more STD study la tanko ma twinsing ako panang the on Akofits University campus. There's no self-control in worldly men. Mabayenzi mali. I watched a humble guy become an arrogant beast that was perverted enough to come to me. Arobezele mosadi. Down there something and boy, and me, I'm not going to sit on that. Protection. A man that was A man that in poverty was careful to protect me from finding out about his infidelity now brazenly came to my apartment after sleeping with a woman and not even taking a shower. On the same day, our bodily fluids in one sitting. Really too, we were there in Karen, we were having a threesome. He did that to me with no tact because he was starting to make money. Hence why it's written in God's word that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And many who have wandered after it have pierced themselves with many pains. When people start to make money, especially when they're not making it in Christ and they're not stewarding it in Christ, they become so tactless and they feel like because they've got money, they don't have to have character, that they get really rude and they're insensitive. When you are fighting, rightly so, over that which ought to be fought over, like in Dabeguti, uzofika in my apartment ka 4 a.m. Hoseng, ka 3 Hoseng, o sa batla go ntlhalosetsa ha re tsoga gore o none kae o tswa monna ha ke go dampa. And then you evidence to me or I don't even want you being a partner in my business. They get rude and then they try to splurge on abafazi that appreciate them like psycho fans. Abengena makwams aba anga argue nabo ngoba bahlala babetshelwa nje. All they want is their money. They go and they splurge on these women. And then years down the line, bafuna ukuya to the raro that they delelat like a bogat. Yeah, itso re babangata bana banang nechelete that are in the occult that have made this money precisely in yona. Even amandla ka satan that are able to get me out of the situation. But you also are enabling 19-year-olds from Wits Tech, 19-year-olds by Genango Vista that are UCT students to live like young professionals who pay rental gofaways that would have under normal circumstances lived gadi noodles, gadi oreo for dinner, but they are eating 3-course meals in apartments in luxury neighborhoods, upmarket neighborhoods, with cars that they drive after getting driver's licenses because now they can, that they are driving to school every day. Abazali, they don't know that their daughters are not living in res. Umuntu unemoto at varsity angena msebenzi cause uput matlesa omoreketse picantonya omoreketse some small little car to go to and from varsity. Lendo dale ichadile hey ebat ungetse mutu ona to a 37-year-old woman that's given him so far 4 kids and counting, and he is paying for rent. He had 2-bedroom apartment in 4 ways for a Wits student that also has a car bought for her cash from her boot matlesa. And when she graduates, this guy's gonna demand a baby from that nyatsi, extra breaking the heart of his wife because they tend to be possessive over the women that they cater to, enough to want to put babies in stomachs of women that aren't their wives, sufficiently enough to even face a scandal. Abenandaba that Kuzo find out that he has impregnated a nyatsi, because for him it was about kya kanyatsi ena kwa ka 22 old ona before atsamalo nyala monna hai nna ke tswela pele ka mosadi wa ka ke mmatla ang phengwana. And so he will take a love child to his wife and say, I'm sorry I cheated, but this is our son, this is my son, deal. Mme wa teng ke this chick ke patala alimony ke patala child maintenance mara angimthandi. It was a mistake, I'm sorry. Rebandla we o kana kwa teng everybody ukunya di ARV including that 22-year-old. Like literally I am sorry. I'm not gonna be the 40-something-year-old wife of a man that is going to satiate his desire for young blood while telling himself uti Karabo, but you're my wife, I love you. Kids that are young enough to be my daughters are busy giving my husband extra children above me. I'm just not going to be that chick. Me guys. For years on Christ. That men with money bayahlanya, but I also understand that I can't marry a man without it. Same way that bahlanya lezinja ayikho enye indoda that can take care of me other than indoda enemali and a lot of it. Given that my situation is ridiculous, I need imalini to have the smallest little semblance of a normal life, to have any kind of iota of justice, and I need a man with influence to enable me to basically fulfill my even desire for justice. He cannot be a weak man. Tshwantse abe muhumi. Mara bahumi ba lefatshe kotsi. David neli muhumi, Solomon neli muhumi. These men were of God. Mara ne ba sa kgone faithfulness. How much more then as a woman? How much more then as a woman when you desire faithfulness ought you wait on the Lord to truly work in a man? Because Kimo David le Solomon ne ba sa kgone hoba monogamous. If you want Joseph, you will wait for him to get out of prison and then be made the prime minister of Egypt. Joseph was in prison for I don't know how long, but I do believe he was in Egypt for near on 20 years in total before he became the prime minister of Egypt. Mosadi o nyetseng Joseph had to have waited sonke leso skhathi while the guy was actually being a slave in Potiphar's house, and then a prisoner in prison in Egypt thanks to Potiphar's wife, then only interpreting Pharaoh's dreams, and then only taking a bride. You have got to have been willing to be patient enough for your man to go from rags to riches as God is building him as indoda. Do you understand? A faithful man that will not cheat with Potiphar's wife before you will inherit him as Joseph's wife. Maybe that's why sometimes you be out here waiting as a 40-year-old woman. Your husband had to go through some waters before he gained influence. He's a godly man that made money the honest way. It's been hard for an honest man in business because everybody is racketeering and money laundering, but he stayed on the straight and narrow and made all of his millions. Seductresses. He will not allow himself to be stroked on the cheek and have his tie fixed by his secretary. He will respect and honor his wife, but they build them, these guys, in an oven. They don't just get popped out of wombs. They don't just come out of nowhere from amatenda broniel, from amatenda deals. They don't just upon making imali suddenly wear character, because I had a dude that had better character than what he had before making money, wangi shangela, because he started making it. Apart from the Lord making you like Joseph, a man that is, as a woman you can't trust a wealthy man. Like you literally cannot trust indodene mali. It's easier for a camel to enter the eye of a needle than for amadodeme animali to enter the kingdom of God. If like Joseph, you have to wait for him to endure slavery and then prison, and then poop, overnight he is the prime minister of Egypt. Do you have the patience to wait 10 years for a husband, 15? Do you have the patience to, albeit being 40 years old, still trust that God is going to bring your man along? Do you? If you don't, that's got 4 side pieces, one of whom is a baby mama over and above you. Do you have the patience to wait for a man that's not going to endure you to the tyranny of Isitem because he can afford to have 5 wives? So he can set all of them up in some pretty intriguing plots. Are very spacious with 2 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms. All of them are going to be handsomely catered to. Maragovela, you're like Swati ladies are just doing a reed dance nakedly for some perverted king that will not stop taking abafazi abasha, and literally in denial about the fact that he's a pervert. Yeah, unless ba mudim. First and foremost, are you patient enough to wait on the Lord to build you and potentially get to the age of 40 like Karabo before he becomes the prime minister of Egypt? Do you have that patience? Because if you don't, just admit in your bones. Just when I admit again, at least that how na side piece 20 insofar as he can take you shopping for Louis Vuitton. That he can bring a love child home. You are content with at least being the one he put a ring on the finger of. You are okay with at least being your first wife. If he's got a side piece on university campus, insofar as I got divorced, and so be. And a futsi wonkumuntu can live for 50 years on ARVs. So you don't care if you're popping ARVs insofar as you and your husband look like you are happy. Just admit that at least when you've got a wealthy spouse, okay? Because Amadota in the world will show you flames. Only look at Patrice Motsepe. Trustworthy looking on the outside, Mara. We all know he is showing his woman flames. Already there is a celebrity in this country that is rumored to have his baby. Amadota anemali angathandu somandla bazobonisa ama flames noma ama character abo appear lovable and believable. And again, wealth for a man tends to get built over time, like you know how with Joseph in Egypt. Mbuhumi bahaye butlileka, a lot of striving and godliness. It came with faithfulness to God, and then he was suddenly awarded great wealth one night. That's a man that's going to wait on the Lord for a wife. He is going to look for that which is bone of his bone and flesh of his flesh. He is not going to take just any bride. Especially considering, just in the same way that men in the world batla subjugated to the tyranny of Isitembu, women in the world bazobashelo bazofuna ukuchata bazobihlisa amazinyo wabo. They will break their teeth just to marry a man onemali bangenandaba ngecharacter. What does he do? What's he all about? Hana ndaba mutona. If Nasna told them, she wouldn't care. But because oneyona lemali Papa, my ex fell into that trap, but he deserved it because he went and treated a ride or die like trash. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what's good. Women in the world, ba bora banna ba godly, have a character. So same way that he stands to fall into a trap having so much money of some crazy lady literally trying to make herself number one, wa first spot. So too, nami, am I facing the potential, given that I'm a God-fearing, apparently desirable woman, albeit being 40 years old, that needs a moneyed man to for everything that she needs. Nami, I could fall into the trap of being with a wealthy guy just cause unemali. Kodwa character uihwe, and at some point, albeit having prospered to avoid HIV for 41 years, 42 years, however long it takes for me to get married, I'll finally get it at 45 because my husband just will not keep it in a bunch. I am not marrying indoda ehlanyayo lankudwa mara kuyayitsi uri konyala mono langichelete kodwa amadoda animali, a lot of them bayahlanya, hence bayafaka abos chicken Sterkfontein. I don't wanna be a stupid girl. Akobas domjan. First and foremost, akisotlo aha monna ngimfuna a ready made, and by the grace of God, all figure ready made, because the Lord understands that I've done time. I've already been in Tanyani. I've already had a man that went and married some slave queen. So angso akamina angso season indoda ukuthi ayoba ngina 40 akina nako yalo dila le mono nang potential akino dila le mono snang chelete una le batho out in these streets bangena lutho ba broke ba erede go drive mo ke desert mara the way banana ngore ke viable ka teng because akina next given that they've got 250 more than me ba feel ngathi bangangichata. Problematic that, but there are also wealthy men that trust that ngoba nemali ngizodinga the services that they have to offer to my poor cause. And while they are not wrong that I need services to cater to my poor cause, not theirs, I also understand that a man that is from God uzongithanda ngingenalutho and uzongithanda ngingamgelanga yet. From what the Lord showed me, my husband, before I am in his household as his queen, is gonna set me up in an apartment. He is going to never mind service my vehicle, but get me a new car altogether before I even move out of the country, before I even live in his nation, because I told you it's an American dude. Before kids South Africa, because leaving this country can process every onerous apply visa, just a whole bunch of checks that need to be done. The country gotta do their own vetting. I told you, even though Donald Trump is out here bringing in African refugees into his country, angizohamba from South Africa to the US via refugeeism. As an immigrant, as in somebody that's just moving and just relocating. I am not going to move through Totleho. I'm not going to get out kicking and screaming with my family on some, oh my goodness, we treated her so trashy that she became an South African refugee in America. I am going to move the same way that Trevor Noah moved, the same way that Tyler moved. And so I'm going to be there for a season, and eventually after a season, I'm going to gain citizenship. That's how this is going to happen. The Lord showed me I'm going to get set up in this country, South Africa, right now, in my own place. I'm gonna get a new car, and I'm going to be catered to for a season before I then am put in an aeroplane to go overseas to join Owami Umieni. It's literally happening that way, understand? That's what the Lord showed me. And there's a whole bunch of people busy all over the show, some of which want to make me loathe, resent Amadota so much that I will turn into a lesbian. And I made it clear, I a lesbian because I like men. Everything about them, banally everything that's they've got the right piping, they've got thick skin and Adam's apples and deep voices. Babatele, banale di masoliting pala. How nantwenga khonang mobona, and that's why I need them. Angizoploma muntu with squishy boobs, a squishy bum, a whole bunch of cellulite, and some stretch marks. Njengam, sonke in the shower, Renaldi stretch mark. Sonke in the shower, we've got boobs. Sonke in the shower, we've got cellulite. Sonke, we have got an innie as opposed to an outie. Wonkumuntu la emgaqweni is looking like the shower room yako Jimmy. Kitlaetsang kamutu otshwanang le nna. Angi ebatho, what am I gonna do with you? You don't have the right piping. Funa bantwana. Angifuni futhi no adopta nje fella off the cuff, maybe one day some in the later, but I do want my own biological children. Ke tlo go etsang wena o sa kgone go mpha bana? A ke batlo ya sperm bank. I want to intimately conceive a baby with a man. Get etsang ka a person ongena piping. It's unnatural le lesbian le yenu. Kodwa alisa batla high looking alisa lawyer. Ke batla monna. I have been wanting a man all this time, and angizofrazwa so much. ke banna ba seleng ba serianeng to a point of lesbo lebala. So yeah, the whole lesbian suggestion, I don't even like to talk about it because it's just so dumb. It doesn't make sense. Like I said, ke rata banna, and that's always just going to be a thing. There is nothing that I find attractive about women at all. If anything, when I see a really beautiful woman, all I feel is jealousy more than attraction. Like I don't feel anything for women that any woman wouldn't typically feel that is heterosexual towards women. I struggle with envy towards gorgeous chicks, not lust, but with gorgeous men. I gotta gouge out my eye because I'm a hetero in the worst way, and that's never gonna change. And there is no amount of anger that can ever dwell in my heart against Amadoda that are bolat, that have actually wreaked havoc in my life and not been manly enough, that will ever make me consider a lesbian. Because after all, you don't have gonads. Like, I kid you not, you don't have them. You will therefore never be able to make me pregnant. With all of your uterus and your ovaries. What? Like, I don't understand the lesbian, and I never will. And any lesbians feel rebuked by this, please. Like, I implore you, you will never be able to gain out of a woman what you can gain from a man: protection, covering. You will perpetually be dealt by the whole society of people generally until you get a husband. Thirdly, you will never be able to bounce back after you experiment with a lesbian to truly and comprehensively being content with a relationship with a man, because you will have allowed yourself to make out with and touch the body parts of another woman that compassionately understands you deeply as a person in a way that a man can never understand you, because they were never made to get us. After all, they're from Mars and you're from Venus. Typologically and proverbially, of course, they're two different. Ours is to wear understanding in their differences, and similarly with them too, that is to build our character. Men will never understand us the way that women do. That's why we have best friends with whom we eat ice cream and bicker about how it is that I just don't feel like he gets me. That's the most that we can comfort each other concerning. And then we can also counsel each other as to how to deal with the lack of, compassion, empathy, emotionalism of men. As women, we can come up with strategies to cope with them in ways that are healthy spiritually, and also by, like I said, avoiding ungodly men, so that you will have the least amount of propensity or chance to be ignored emotionally, because godly men tend to work on stuff that women need. Even though it doesn't come naturally to them, they are a lot more intentional in working on it. So you'll have a better version of a man in a godly man than you ever can have in a worldly man.